Judas Priest's perfect surprise, controversial rush, and NICKO McBRAIN is returning to stage in a new amplitude. Metal is life and well, so let's see what keeps it going today. Here you go. The Judas Priest lullabies, expected yet the most pleasant marketing campaigns ever, was launched this week. In order to promote their upcoming The Best of Judas Priest compilation, Metal Gods, instead of releasing yet another set of lyric videos, decided to go a rather unconventional route and launched a new series called Bedtime Stories. And yes, it's exactly what it sounds like.
One life, I'm gonna live it up. I'm taking flight, I said I'll never get enough.
Yep. Leading to the release of the Best of Judas Priest compilation, which, just a reminder, is coming out on June 19th this year, Rob Halford will literally be reading Judas Priest lyrics as bedtime stories to all of us heavy metal maniacs around the world every night. And honestly, I actually think that this is pretty genius. Because come on, what nightly ritual can possibly be better than this one for any metal fan around the world?
You think I'll let it go? You're mad. You've got another thing coming.
Okay guys, super quick, just simply have to point out that only around 30% of the people who watch my videos are actually subscribed to this channel. So if you're not one of those, and especially if this is not the first video you're watching here, I would really appreciate it if you would consider subscribing right now. Let's continue building this amazing heavy metal community together. The saddest Lemmy Forever. Lemmy Forever goes on, the 7th edition of the ceremony to honor the legendary Motorhead mastermind Lemmy Kilmister has taken place this week during this year's Download Festival. And in honesty, it was the saddest ceremony to date. During the ceremony, the miniature of Lemmy's classic urn containing a portion of his ashes has been enshrined in a classic fruit machine, the one that Lemmy once took on the road together with him. And after the end of the Download Festival on June 14th, some of Lemmy's ashes will be transported to the O2 Apollo in Manchester, where the future ceremony will be held, and those ashes will be residing forever. But in honesty, although this was the 7th edition of this ceremony, this one of course was the saddest one to date, as this year's ceremony was the first one organized by Motorhead's manager Todd Singerman, to whom the torch was passed this year, as we all remember that all the previous ceremonies were actually organized by the legendary Motorhead guitarist Phil Campbell, who, as we all know, is rocking out in heaven together with Lemmy right now. And so, in a way, as Singerman himself said, the 2026 edition of the Lemmy Forever ceremony is actually dedicated not just to Lemmy, but also to Phil Campbell, who, just a reminder, passed away on March 13th this year at the age of just 64 years old. And just like Lemmy himself, he is, of course, dearly missed by all of us die-hard Motorhead fans. Dark Tranquillity return. Dark Tranquillity may soon release their brand new studio album, the successor of the 2024 Endgame Signals. And this week, the Swedish melodic death metal father's mastermind, Mikael Stane, has finally shared some details about it. As Stane said during the Hard Rock 2026 festival in Germany, Dark Tranquillity has actually been working on a brand new album for a couple of months already. And their plan is to finish the work on it completely by the end of this year, so that it may actually see the light of day as early as next summer. And they actually wanted to release it even earlier than that, yet according to Stane, they simply do not want to leave anything to chance, and want this brand new album to sound exactly like they envision it. Which I'm all for, of course, given the fact that I freaking loved their latest studio outputs, like pretty much anything else that this band did throughout their career. And here guys, as always, a huge shout out and a thank you to all my patrons and all of the YouTube channel members. Guys, the truth is that it is thanks to you, and thanks to your support and support of those who purchase Metal Pilgrim merch from all around the world, that I'm able to release these videos for you amidst all the craziness of living in Ukraine. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. And as a thank you to all of the patrons and channel members, there is actually a special episode on whether Iron Maiden is actually becoming a legacy act, already available to each and every one of you. And the link to it will be in the description to this video. The Anthrax reconciliation. Scott Ian praises John Bush, with the Anthrax mastermind saying that he absolutely loves the ongoing solo performances by the Arm Insane frontman, during which he performs the songs from his era of Anthrax. And even more, as Scott stated, he actually even asked John Bush if he can join him on stage and perform a couple of songs together during his performance in LA. Yet unfortunately something didn't work out in terms of the schedule, but he still really hopes that they will be able to reunite on stage once again and play some of those songs together, which of course shows that the relationship between them switched from the evident friction following John's departure from Anthrax to a, well, at least a much lesser friction. And according to Scott, he and John Bush right now are actually pretty close friends, which I think is pretty awesome. And if you ask me, I would absolutely love if John Bush would be able to join Anthrax on stage and perform some of his era songs alongside Joey Belladonna. Star-studded Man on a Silver Mountain. Some of the biggest names in the world of rock and metal have joined their forces to honor the legendary Rainbow. Cleopatra Records label is set to release the compilation Ride the Rainbow, the ultimate tribute to Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow, and have finally unveiled their latest single. And in all honesty, it freaking rocks! So this one is the cover of one of Rainbow's biggest hits, Man on a Silver Mountain, from their 1975 debut album, performed by an all-star lineup featuring vocalist Sabestian Bach, bassist Bob Daisley, who by the way himself actually played in Rainbow back in the day, guitarist Mick Box and Doug Aldrich, keyboardist Jonathan Cain, and the drummer Carmen Abbas. So yeah, not too shabby of a lineup. And by the way, according to Abbas, back in the day, Ritchie Blackmore actually invited him to play in Rainbow, but for some weird reason it never worked out. So he's apparently super happy to finally have a chance to give a Rainbow song a shot. The Ride the Rainbow, the ultimate tribute to Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow, will be released on June 19th. And given who will be featured on this compilation, well, I actually gotta say that, well, this in my opinion is going to be a huge gift to all the Rainbow fans.
Yes, it's true.
And another thing I just have to mention after listening to this single is, man, does Sabestian Bach still know how to sing? No, seriously, Skid Row, I know you're looking for a new vocalist, but in my opinion, at this point, there's only one guy whom all of the fans want to see in this band. And if you're still looking for a perfect singer for your band, just close your eyes and listen to this song. And maybe, just maybe, it will help you put all your differences aside.
Come down with fire, lift my spirit higher.
NICKO McBRAIN goes on tour. Just days after announcing his autobiography Hello Boys and Girls, NICKO McBRAIN has revealed a full European spoken word tour, An Evening with NICKO McBRAIN. And honestly, if you've ever watched a NICKO McBRAIN interview, you know that this is a brilliant idea.
I have written a book, and here's one I prepared earlier. Look at this beauty.
The tour is supposed to combine stories from his upcoming book with audience Q&A sessions, covering everything from his early days in London's music scene to 42 years inside Iron Maiden, including the highs, the lows, the chaos, and apparently quite a lot of stories we've never heard before. And by we, I even mean some die-hard Iron Maiden fans.
I love my job.
And in all honesty, I absolutely love it how NICKO McBRAIN seems to rediscover himself and open an absolutely new chapter after stepping down from touring together with Iron Maiden. As rather than just disappearing from public view, he seems determined to stay connected with fans and finally tell the stories he's been collecting for more than 4 decades. Which of course is a true blessing for each and every one of us Iron Maiden fans. As honestly, hearing the news of NICKO McBRAIN deciding to step down from touring together with Iron Maiden was extremely devastating. For me, and I'm sure for many Iron Maiden fans. But I can't even imagine how devastating this decision must have been for NICKO McBRAIN himself, who lived and breathed everything Iron Maiden and what is most importantly, loved interacting with his fans for more than 4 decades. And so now when he's unfortunately unable to constantly perform at a level which NICKO himself considers appropriate for himself, in honesty, it is a true blessing that he found a way to stay connected with his lifelong friends. And come on, if there is one member of Iron Maiden, and if there is one guy in the world of heavy metal who could sit on stage and keep his audience entertained, well, it's definitely the best looking bloke at Iron Maiden.
Another thing.
And now the time has come for your favorite part of the video, so let's take a look at 5 latest metal releases from this week, which although did not get their own segments in this video, are still definitely worthy of your attention. Tarja released Frisson Noir, her first full-length rock album since In the Raw. The record was produced by Tarja Turunen together with Torsten Stenzel and explores darker and more cinematic territory while maintaining the symphonic elements that have defined her solo career. According to Tarja, the album title refers to the feeling of being drawn towards something beautiful and unsettling at the same time. Lex Legion released their self-titled debut album, Lex Legion, via MNRK Heavy. The band brings together 4/5 of the classic late 80s King Diamond lineup, including Mickey D, Pete Black, Andy LaRocque, and Hal Patino, with Nils K. Rue of Pagan's Mind on vocals. Mickey D described the album as written with the same attitude they had in the 80s, making the music they wanted, without trying to please everyone. Brazilian power metal vocalist Edu Falaschi released Mirage, the latest chapter in the conceptual universe he began exploring after Vera Cruz. The album was inspired by Middle Eastern culture, mythology, and history, with the title referencing the legendary journey of ascension in Islamic tradition. Iconic released Take Me to the Place, another preview of their upcoming second album titled, well, you guessed it, 2, due on July 31st via Frontiers Music SRL. The song was written by Nathan James, Joel Hoekstra, and Alessandro Del Vecchio, continuing the creative partnership behind the project. And the album itself once again brings together Nathan James, Michael Sweet, Joel Hoekstra, Marco Mendoza, and Tommy Aldrich.
Whispers of love, flames so bright, breaking down my walls.
Death metal band Left to Die released Witch of Hell, the first single from their upcoming debut album The Killing Machine. The project features former Death members Rick Ross and Terry Butler alongside Mott Harvey and Gus Rice. The album is scheduled for release on August 28th via Reaper Entertainment. Marilyn Manson strikes back. Marilyn Manson has finally announced his brand new studio album titled One Assassination Under God Chapter 2, arriving on August 14th, and even dropped the first single off of it titled Exit Wound. The new record continues the story started on last year's Chapter 1, once again created together with longtime collaborator Tyler Bates. And judging by the first song, Manson is actually doubling down on the dark, industrial and cinematic direction of his recent material. But the most interesting thing is the timing of this arrival. I mean, as first of all, pretty much everyone knows that for years Marilyn Manson tried to stay away from the spotlight. Also, last week, a California judge denied dismissing Marilyn Manson's sexual assault case, which was originally dismissed in May of 2022, brought back to the table again in December of 2023, dismissed again in December of 2025, and then refiled once again in January due to a new California law that passed that establishes a new temporary time frame for adult sexual abuse survivors, and then once again restarted in January this year under a new California law, creating quite a roller coaster. But nevertheless, whether you're a fan or not, new Marilyn Manson music is coming to us this year. And this one actually does look like a brand new chapter of the artist. Tragedy at a Metal Festival. This year's edition of Pitfest Festival, its 10th anniversary that took place from the June 4th to June 6th in Emmen, Netherlands, was unfortunately struck by a terrible tragedy. According to the festival's promoter statement, during the Hardcore Veterans Gorilla Biscuits show, one of the fans got unwell, and despite all of the efforts of the emergency and medical professionals, they unfortunately could not save his life. Later on, it was revealed that it all happened during the Swedish black metal legends Dark Funeral set, who were headlining the festival. And according to the band, the show was paused after the band played just its first song, when a medical helicopter was called to the scene. When at first Dark Funeral, alongside the other bands, decided to pause the concert, yet after they found out that the fan unfortunately could not have been saved, the festival promoters decided to cancel all of the remaining live performances.
They just told me there is an emergency going on, so we need to stop the show. We'll get back to you with more information if we can, okay? Thank you, sorry.
And so on behalf of the entire Metal Pilgrim family around the world, we want to issue our condolences to the family and friends of the deceased fan, who, according to the promoter's statement, died from the natural causes. And in honesty, I think it is absolutely appropriate that the band's organizers decided to cancel all of the remaining live performances. As you know what, no matter what anyone may say about us metalheads, but if you are a metalhead, you are part of a big metal family. Nostalgic Ignea. And finally, some great news from my good friends at Ignea, as this week the band has finally announced their brand new studio album titled Monumental, arriving this October 23rd via Napalm Records. But the coolest thing about it is actually its concept, as this album explores nostalgia in all its forms, from Cold War dreams of space exploration to abandoned modernist architecture and the feeling of looking back at a future that never actually arrived, which I think is a pretty cool one. And so given that, and the whole fact that, well, I know for a fact that this entire album has been written and recorded in Kyiv during the times of war and during the craziest winter blackouts we had in the last couple of years, well, at least to me, this will definitely be the album to check out this autumn. The controversial Rush.
And a 1, and a 2, and a 1, 2, 3, a 1, 2, 3.
Rush have officially returned to stage for the first time in 11 years, kicking off their 50-something tour in Los Angeles with Geddy Lee, Alex Lifeson, new keyboardist Lauren Gold, and of course the person whom everyone has been watching the most closely, new drummer Anika Nilles. And let's be honest here, this tour was always going to be very emotional and a very controversial one, because for many fans, Rush without Neil Peart simply sounded impossible. But Geddy and Alex have been very clear that this tour is not about replacing Neil, but about celebrating his life, his music, and the legacy of the band with the blessing of his family. Yet, even with all that explanation, let's be honest here, Anika was up for a real test. And at least in my opinion, she nailed it. I mean, no, of course no one can ever replace Neil Peart in Rush. I mean, it's just impossible. But at the same time, even Mike Portnoy, whom many fans once imagined as the obvious dream choice for the impossible seat, said Anika absolutely killed it in the best way imaginable, while admitting that the whole show was magical, emotional, and exactly the kind of tribute Rush needed. And looking at the footage available online, I have to 100% agree with Mike. The first show opened with Xanadu, which already felt like a statement, and then the set was packed with songs that had not been played in years, including Limelight, Free Will, Vital Signs, and a bunch of others. And then on the second night, Rush surprised their fans even more so, and performed the entire 2112 suite for the first time in nearly 30 years, including parts they had not played as part of the full suite since the Test for Echo tour in 1997. And once again, the entire band sounded extremely tight.
Oh God, it's so good. So good.
So yeah, this reunion has a rather strange feeling. And let's be honest here, Rush without Neil Peart will always feel different. But at the same time, if the question was whether Geddy and Alex could bring this music back in a way that feels respectful emotional and genuinely alive? The answer, at least to me, and at least from the first couple of shows, seems to be definitely yes. As yes, no matter what, Rush music should sound live. And yes, the way this band does it today, at least to me, seems more than appropriate. But anyways, what new music did you listen to this week? Please let us know in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching this video, guys. Please don't forget to like it, comment under it, subscribe to the channel and spread the word about it. And of course, join our communities on Instagram, X, Threads, Discord, Facebook, and anywhere else you can post content these days. Thank you guys so much for all your support, and we will prevail. Slava Ukraini!